So, alright, I'm gonna go dead air for about 5 seconds so I have an easy cut for the highlight, and then we'll get started. So... Hey guys, what's going on? Gonna do commentary for my Castlevania Bloodlines PB. There's quite a few new strategies and optimizations since the last time you would have seen me upload one of these runs. Most of them are tiny, but they all add up quite a bit. So stage 1 is still the most random stage in the game. It causes the most resets, but you'll notice pretty quickly there's a big change here. I no longer pick up any of the whip upgrade pickups to start out. Reason for that being, when you pick up the whip upgrade, like all Castlevania games, the game freezes briefly. It's about 30 to 31 frames for the freeze. So by not picking up either of the upgrades, I save a second right off the bat, because frankly, I don't need to pick up the upgrades. I reset if I don't get the full whip upgrade from the Bible and the wall in this room, so there's no point. So we go in here, of course, this is a 50-50 drop, you can't manipulate it, so I have to reset till I get that right, as you've seen me do on stream countless times. The rest of the stage has some alterations to how and when I use sub-weapon ammo. Mainly because I've altered my path a little bit later in the stage, and in stage 2, so it requires a little bit more careful use of how often I throw out the super sub-weapon. We'll see that as we go along here. New path through this room. I destroy all the candles because I've altered how I fight the Hellhound. If the Hellhound does Fire Breath like this, I actually blow a super sub-weapon charge because it kills him much, much faster than the old route. That saves probably 2.5 seconds over what it used to. So that, in essence, means now, whereas Howl always used to be the fastest pattern for me, Fire Breath is now technically faster with the route I use. That more closely mimics the Taz. This room, same old, come in, throw super sub-weapon, get rid of the bone pillars, walk through. This is the room where you'll see some changes. I used to throw the super sub-weapon once I got up to this staircase, but now I whip swing through that skeleton to save a charge of it. Not only does it save some sub-weapon ammo, it also creates far less lag and is actually faster to just go through and have to whip the skeleton up top, so that's another change. Up here, I go ahead and do a whip swing here. I didn't used to. We get horrific lag because both skeletons decided to run into the guillotine, because they're not very kind and like to cost me a whole bunch of lag frames, but still, all in all, this is a pretty solid stage. Getting the Fire Breath from Hellhound is really important. Here's another change. Not going to use super sub-weapon against the Bone Dragon. I just manipulate him best I can. There are patterns there that I'll get hit no matter what, but I've learned how to recognize most of them, so we get to the Armor Battler boss. For those of you who don't know the major speed tech in Castlevania Bloodlines, the whole point is, once I get this Plasma Whip, the blue flamey whip, I can't get hit. If I get hit, I lose that whip. The only way to get it back is with the second best whip. I have to hit 30 sub-candles that don't contain sub-weapons. The 30th will drop another whip upgrade and I get it back. I get hit again, I lose it. For the purpose of this speedrun, I'm not allowed to get hit anywhere that isn't intentional. I have 2 intentional damage moments in this entire run. So, Armor Battler, as long as he doesn't give me a garbage pattern, that's really all I ask for. He can be a huge pain, but that fight was really, really well done. That's pretty much all I can ask for. Stage 2 has become an absolute nightmare in this run. Not because it's necessarily any more difficult, but because I finally have implemented forcing myself to roll the dice for the best possible boss pattern, which I'll explain when we get there. It really sucks. This is where Bloodlines starts doing all its auto-scrollers, so this gives us a little bit to catch up on some more mechanical stuff. This is my PB with John Morris. John is definitely way faster than Licard now through all these new optimizations and other things. So, right now he currently sits about 15 seconds faster than Licard's run. And he can go even lower. I can definitely improve my Licard run as well, but I'm fairly confident no matter what, Morris is always going to be the faster character now when these routes are done, even if they're perfectly optimized, which, at this point, I think I can't do much more to these routes other than just have everything go right. So, during the auto-scroller, we're just going to pick up a whole bunch of sub-weapon ammo best we can, make sure we don't take any hits. There's nothing terribly special around this section. Make sure we get rid of these ghosts. The ghosts are Only found on expert difficulty. If I didn't mention it, this is expert difficulty. Of course, another new strat is killing Water Mage fast. Turn around. Murder him. This was in the sub 30 run, but I like to highlight again because it's so fun to just beat up on Water Mage because you just turn away from him and he dies instantly. Picking up the axe here, skips a sub-boss off to the side. You saw him spawn briefly and then he disappears. And the third sub-boss we're just going to never let get on screen, because why would we do that? That's boring. We don't let sub-bosses do things. If you're new to Bloodlines runs, the name of the game in Castlevania Bloodlines is Bosses and Sub-Bosses. All total through the 6 stages this game has to offer, there are 22 combined boss and sub-boss fights. So that's the reason that this Castlevania runs a lot different from most classic Castlevanias. You don't utilize damage boosts and big skips like that, because honestly all your time is saved by destroying bosses as quickly as possible, and you need the extra damage from the 3rd level whip and the super sub weapon in a lot of cases to be able to go fast. The super sub weapon I should explain while we're going through another auto-scroller here. The super sub weapon comes as soon as you pick up the powered up whip through the Bible, or if you pick up the whip, like I said, by breaking 30 candles with the 2nd best whip. No matter what sub-weapon you have, it'll become the super sub-weapon. Once you pick up a different weapon, you can reclaim the super sub-weapon by picking up the same sub-weapon you already have in your inventory. So like right there, you saw me have an axe, picked up another axe, now I have the super sub-weapon back. That's super important for this section. This section was pretty heavily optimized in the sub 30 route, and has been further cleaned up by little tiny bits here and there. I don't get the best super sub-weapon luck. The super sub-weapon is an amazing tool, but it has very, very weird tracking. It basically seeks out any potential hitbox on the screen. That can include things like candles, or even background objects that have hitboxes, but no hurt boxes coded. Super sub-weapon to plow through there. That's pretty much a perfect section. I can't ask for anything more. So, I mentioned at the beginning of the stage the change to the boss fight. In the past, I would throw 4 super sub-weapons to whittle him down and be able to get a guaranteed kill. Now, what I do is throw 3, jump, so this final sub-weapon hits him. This triggers an animation in him. Sometimes you can break it, and you get this quick kill. More often than not, he's going to do the ceiling smash attack. The ceiling smash causes a horrendous amount of lag, as even more than what you saw there. And then on top of it, what happens is, most of the time, rocks fall from the ceiling. Where they fall is random, and a lot of times you get put in a blockable situation while you're trying to get that quick kill. So this fight has become a complete and total gatekeeper for my route. In this run, he cooperated. I got exactly what I wanted. No ceiling smash, no lag. I can't do that fight really any better there. And then we move on to these things. Harpies are awful. These are some of the worst enemies in the entire game. They're completely random. Manipulating them to go where you want is really difficult. And I've made this room even more aggressive than it used to be, so getting proper patterns here is absolutely tantamount to getting a fast time. That went perfectly. That is exactly how that room should go every time. It doesn't, but that's how it should go every time. This is a new trick too, down whipping that eyeball so I don't have to kill it and just walk through. We go through here. Stage 3 has a lot of new little tiny optimizations that add up. This room we're going to whip swing through all the mummies, going to collect the axe to get ready and fight a very simple known Castlevania enemy that they made a sub-boss, and that's a bone dragon. This axe item crash into a whip into axe actually guarantees this bone dragon dies now without ever getting his flame breath attack off. So that speeds up that fight by a second and a half or more, depending on how accurate I am with all my hits. So there's another little minor optimization there. Just in those first few rooms, this stage is more or less already 3 seconds faster than it used to be. So, this is another auto-scroller. Bloodlines is really weird with its weight and auto-scrollers. You saw Stage 2 was full of them. Stage 3 is almost entirely auto-scrolling. After that, it's gone. There's no more auto-scrollers in the entire game. So stage 3 is probably, from a design standpoint, my least favorite stage, just because it's so much auto-scrolling. It has the worst track on the soundtrack, in my opinion, even though it fits the stage thematically. And it's just not very interesting when so much of the stage is auto-scrolling. This room has a neat new optimization that's more or less borrowed from the Taz, which is to throw an item crash here and whip swing all the way up to that staircase, which saves a ton of time. Throw another item crash to kill the mummy, and yeah, that room goes exactly how I want. So, one room of some really cool optimization, doing stuff, and then we're right back into auto-scrolling, because, you know, stage 3 is what it does. So, this is the last auto-scroller we gotta get through, and then things will balance out again. Nothing really special here. The only major thing we want to do is, we want to kill these bone gargoyles, one at a time, if at all possible. Because, if you kill more than one at a time, they cause a decent bit of lag. Nothing that's really, really bad by any stretch, but when you're optimizing as much as I'm trying to, there's no reason to let a couple lag frames come in per enemy. That's not the cleanest way to do that, but it didn't cost any lag frames, so I'm fine with it. And then we just have a few more of these. I want to try and jump up these pillars, platforms, whatever you want to call them, as quickly as possible, because eventually an exit spawns towards the end of them, and obviously the closer I am to the edge of the screen, the faster I can leave the stage. I get a tiny bit behind there. That actually costs probably like half a second. You can do that a little better. I'm gonna pick up the axe to fight the Bat Gargoyle boss here at the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Yes, we're timing the Leaning Tower of Pisa, if you notice. This is a new opening phase. That's a really, really tight window to get all 3 of those hits in, but it saves him going all the way off screen and coming back. So completely worth it. That speeds up this fight by about a second and a half over the old strat. So, first 2 phases go perfect, final stage as well, and that's a perfect fight. The Bat Gargoyle takes static damage once he gets to all 3 of his phases. You cannot over-damage him, so that's why you're seeing me use the axe sub-weapon. Even though sub-weapons against bosses actually do half damage, it's very useful in that kind of situation. For the most part, I want to use the whip on bosses. The whip does 10 points of damage. The only things that do more damage than that are the whip swing, where I attach my whip to a platform and swing around. And yeah, like I said, sub-weapons do minimal damage because they're halved against bosses. Stage 4 is still the most tech-filled and arguably difficult stage in the run. This is the first stage you'll see me utilize a damage boost. I'm going to take one right there. I would have liked to have gotten boosts forward, but I apparently did not space it quite right. The reason I take a damage boost in this stage is that I want to set up a actual damage boost later in the stage. The whole point of doing it this early is that I don't really need the powered up whip to get through any of these enemies quickly. And what I want to do is be able to take that damage boost, but it's really late in the stage. If I don't take it late in the stage, what happens is, if I were to get hit, I won't be able to recollect enough candles to get my powered up whip and super sub weapon back to fight the boss, and that would cost me a horde of time. So, you see me utilize this. Here's a first real glitch of the run. We're going to zip into the wall via this piston. How that works is you throw sub-weapon as you're rising on your jump, and you get just a tiny bit extra height, and you can utilize that to have that piston push you in the wall and use zip. This climb is one of my favorite parts of the whole run, just because it's a non-stop execution test. You have to run, utilize your sub-weapon spacing really well. The Medusas come at static times, so as long as you don't lose time, you'll know where they spawn, and be able to basically kill them on the fly. And that's basically a perfect climb. That's all I could have asked for. This room is really terrifying looking, but it's honestly not that bad to run. You have some pretty good leniency on the height of these platforms, and as long as you don't dilly-dally, the ghosts never catch up to you. We go into another sub-boss, fight the creature. This fight's really boring, nothing special. A lot of the sub-bosses die quickly, even if you don't have the powered-up whip, but now we set up for one of the most difficult tricks in the game, and that's the blade skip. I'm going to edge my way through the blade's hitboxes, and by hitboxes I mean there are 4 pixel dots on each side of the blade, and if you squeeze between them, you don't take any damage. if you get hit by them on Expert, you die. They do 17 bars of health, and as you can tell, I had far less than 17 bars of health to take, but that all worked out. Then I used that damage boost from that last enemy to boost through the last blade. Now I'll pick up my super sub-weapon back in this room, and we're ready to use it and the super sub-weapon to clear out this really difficult platforming area. This is one of the most difficult areas in the game, especially casually. You have bats coming from your back, you have these mace skeletons that take like 3 hits, and rotating platforms, so that room is actually really terrifying to do. But with the super sub-weapon and knowing a good route for it, it's not too bad. And now we fight the Gear Steamer boss. This boss has the second most health in the game. He takes a long time to whittle down. The important thing to note is that the more you hit him, the more he shrinks, so you can actually get easier hits on him, because his hitbox is that orb in the middle. As he shrinks down, you don't have to jump to hit him after a certain amount of time, and that makes this fight a little bit easier as you go on. But to get that quick kill, you can't miss any hits, otherwise he'll get another jump and you lose about 3 to 4 seconds. So, that's a really solid stage 4. There were a couple tiny errors in there. But again, because this is the one stage that I utilize a damage boost, taking an extra hit isn't run-ending. It just costs me the old-fashioned time of, well, I got hit, now I have to sit through the stun. Up next, stage 5. Stage 5 is the reason that I didn't want to upload this run forever. Because I make one of the dumbest mistakes I've ever made in a run that basically had ungodly good RNG and should have killed this game, but what can you do? That section, the pollen that hits me, doesn't do any damage, so I don't lose the whip. It just reverses left and right on your controller. This is a new skip, whip swinging to get up there and jumping over that final orb. It's tricky to do, but as long as you don't stop moving and you jump as soon as you land on that platform, you won't get hit by that second orb. So we get around the vine monkeys, they're annoying little enemies, and move on to the chandelier room. Chandelier room is fun. Environmental hazards have a neat status effect in Bloodlines. They hurt you, so if I were to be under that chandelier, it would harm me if it fell on me. But environmental hazards one-shot enemies in Bloodlines. So anytime they run into environmental hazards, they just die. So these Axe Knights have a ton of health, so using the chandeliers to drop on them saves a ton of time in this hallway, as you can tell. Kill one more. We're going to use the super sub-weapon to take out this last knight here. Don't have to stop moving. We move into a ridiculously tall bone pillar room. We're going to use the super sub-weapon. Walk through as it's falling down without taking a hit. That's a really important trick to use, because we do not want to lose possession of the super whip and super sub-weapon in this stage, because, again, anytime you don't have it, you're sacrificing way too much damage. This room, we abuse the whip swing mechanic to get through quickly. And then this room, this room haunts my dreams. This room's not hard. I've done this room countless times with no issues. As long as you just keep jumping up, this room's really easy. These bone gargoyles can't hit you if you just continually jump up the stairs. The bone pillars never fire on you randomly or anything like that. So, really uneventful. We're just climbing. Super simple room. We're going to get up to our destination here in a little bit. And usually I just jump over, catch the last stair, jump on the platform, we're good. And instead, I do that. And then I do it again. And I hate my life in ways I never knew I could, because that was 5 seconds that I wasted. This boss is pretty uneventful. He actually is programmed the same way as the boss I despawned in Stage 2 with the Item Crash Axe. So, if you happen to throw the Item Crash Axe in that room, that boss will back up off the screen and despawn, and since beating him is the trigger to open the door in the room, you can actually soft lock the game. So obviously in a speedrun, you don't want to do that. Use the super sub-weapon, kill that enemy behind us off screen, saves a lot of time, and then we go into the Stone Pillar Illusion boss. This boss takes completely static damage. Every single thing that hits it does 2 bars. Ideally, you want to 3-cycle this boss, which requires you do 4 hits to it, at least 1 cycle. Ideally, you want to get 4 hits every cycle to do as fast as possible, so there you see there. 4 hits on the first 2 cycles. Now we don't even need to use a super sub-weapon. I do anyway for safety. It doesn't cost any time. I had a surplus of sub-weapon ammo, so that was one of those, like, well, I got this far, even though now I know this run is probably not the run I want. Might as well get the most out of it. So, the Stage 5 boss, the Princess of Moss, has a fight I've refined quite a bit. This strat was also in the sub-30 run, but it's still really fun when I hit it just right. I can't remember if I actually did a perfect fight in this run or not. This is the part of the run I kind of blur out because I was so mad at myself for screwing up the spiral staircase room, but as long as you keep jumping and whipping... Yeah, I missed a jump whip there, so... Missed 2, actually. I do gain a tiny bit of time back because she fell on the platform, which is faster than her falling all the way to the floor, so that's not as much lost time. But all in all, that stage costs probably 7 seconds over what it should have been if I do everything properly. And that sucks. This run probably would have been a 29-27, a 29-28. I would have been done with this game. It would have been so hard to top that. It's already incredibly hard to top these splits. I've tried it for a while. It's brutal. That hit from the Medusa is on purpose, as I said. The main reason I take a damage in this stage is not to set up a damage boost. It's more for safety. There's some enemies that spawn at not random intervals, but very tightly timed intervals later in this stage, and the Super Whip actually has increased startup over the regular whip. So this is just like a very, very, very minor time loss for an extreme amount of safety. As you can see, the name of the game in the final stage is Optical Illusions. The camera split here. That room's actually really trivial. I just watch where my feet are and don't have any problems handling it. And then in here, they're like, oh, you're on the ceiling, haha, isn't that cute? And it's like, yeah, it's cute. Left and right are not reversed on your control pad, but up and down are. If you've noticed, I can jump off and on staircases freely in Bloodlines. So if I want to land on a staircase in that room, I actually have to hold down as I jump onto it as opposed to up. This is the hallway I was talking about, why I take that quick little bit of damage early in the stage. Is for this room, because remember the first stage boss, Armor Battler? Yeah, he's back, except now he takes one hit and explodes. The problem is he spawns at these timed intervals, and sometimes comes in the front, sometimes comes from the back. It's really trivial to kill him with the regular whip, because again, your startup is far faster. With the powered up whip, the timing becomes a lot tighter, and if you mess it up, you get hit, you lose the powered up whip, and you cannot reclaim it before the ending boss rush here. And this stage is the longest stage in the game because we're about to fight, oh, I don't know, 9 bosses? So, we recollect the upgraded whip. We actually don't want the super sub-weapon right now for some of these refights. So, Death... Death is a nerd in this game. He just wants to play cards with you and make you refight bosses you've already fought. The nice thing is the bosses we're going to refight all take double damage now, or they have half health. I don't actually know what the coding is, one or the other. But either way, it takes half the time. So there's a neat quick kill now on Gear Boss. We can kill him before he jumps again, because he's going to take way too much damage. So, there's a little bit of leniency on that quick kill, but you don't really get much room for error. So, that one goes alright. One boss down, quite a few more to go. The Gargoyle Bat refight works exactly the same. He takes double damage, but again, you cannot over-damage him between phases, so now it's just going to be 2 hits instead of 3 to get rid of him. So, first phase, hit him, throw the axe so he runs into it immediately as he comes back on screen. Second phase, same song and dance, and third phase, we manipulate where he's going to land by walking over to the side of the platform. And that's a super easy fight. So yeah, this stage actually comprises almost a third of the entire run, just because so much of it is the in-between fights while Death does his thing, refighting all the bosses, and then all the new boss fights that are offered up. The Water Golem refight is one of the most terrifying things ever, because unlike the first time you fight him, you don't get to sit on that platform and whittle him down with a super sub-weapon while the water lowers. You're just at his mercy. He can do the ceiling smash or other attack anytime he wants, but instead he gives me the most godlike pattern I've ever had. No ceiling smash, no lag, no anything. I just get to wail on him and destroy him. And of course he would do that in the run where everything else was unbelievably strong, except falling off the spiral staircase in stage 5. Can you tell I'm salty about the spiral staircase? I don't know if I made that clear enough So Death's gonna take 2 more Stormtrooper shots at us. And then, you know, Death has a history of being a difficult boss in Castlevania games, and then not such a difficult boss in speedruns. Death, for a boss, has the lowest health in the game. So, yeah, he's gonna disappear in 5 hits. Bye, Death. See ya. So, that rounds off Death and his game of cards, and we move on to, bigger and better things. Well, bigger things, yes. Better, I guess, is debatable. Up next, we're gonna fight Elizabeth Bathory. The antagonist of Castlevania Bloodlines. She wanted to resurrect Dracula, and that's why this whole thing is going on. Then she turns into Medusa. Medusa has the most health in the game. 256 hit points. So, I have to hit her a lot to get rid of her. As you can see, there is a lot of wailing, and that's 10 damage a hit. But, as long as you know how to dodge the tail whip attack, Medusa is super trivial. It's just a lot of damage. Then we go into a mechanic that was way too overdone. So when you fight Elizabeth in her human form, the only hit that damages her is the last hit that destroys these spiraling orbs on screen. Yeah. So you have to wait through all these phases. It's pretty great. Basically, Elizabeth teleports to whatever side of the screen you are further away from. So you manipulate her by going almost halfway, waiting till her teleport animation starts, and jumping forward and getting a whip. And then you go back and forth. You've seen the fight. This is how this works. This is going to go on for 3 more cycles. Because, why not? Why not go through 3 more cycles of this? Woo, super interesting fight. I actually like the concept of this fight. Like, it's a really neat, like, bit of puzzle work to figure out how you're actually supposed to hit her. It's just once you figure out the gimmick, it takes way too long to actually kill her. But such is the way of, actually whiffed a hit. I forgot about that. Hey, I can gain time on this stage, kind of, sort of. Go me. So yeah, 1 more cycle of this, then Elizabeth bleed down, and we'll finally get to go fight Dracula himself. And she's gone. We get to make her explode, which is worth it, because that was really long and aggravating. We get a nice Genesis digitized scream for funsies. And then we're going to play Simon's theme, because why not? We're just out of music, I guess. For using the Genesis sound chip, this is a really good remix of Simon's theme, to be honest. So yeah, 1 more staircase, because why not? And then we will go up and fight Dracula himself. Dracula has 3 forms in this game. So, we're on the final bit here. The first form, now I know this will come to a shock. The third form involves Dracula teleporting and throwing fireballs at you. I know, right? The big difference about this compared to other versions of this fight and other Castlevanias, the teleports are actually scripted. There is no randomness here. So, once you know where the teleports are going to be, you can just space it, do a timed jump that will destroy the fireballs and projectiles he throws, and score a hit on him as soon as he becomes vulnerable. So, this fight is actually really trivial in this version. Up next, we have what I like to call Diet Shaft. It's kind of like a Dark Priest. So, you know, this dude is also mostly scripted except for where his teleport right there goes. That's as fast as you can end that fight because he does not go into his death animation until those 2 fireballs leave the screen. So that's a perfect fight. Final form, giant demon thing. Yeah. The key here is we want to set him up to only do 1 flame breath when he goes into his 2nd cycle here, which is right now. Basically timing my hits at an interval so he goes into his final phase. And then his final phase I've altered quite a bit to try and kill him so he only gets to jump twice, which we get. Wow, that's, yeah. I forgot I got a perfect phase 3 fight. That makes this even more infuriating because this run should have been dead. Damn it. All joking aside, that run was ridiculous. If not for a really boneheaded mistake in Stage 5, I put this run within like 8 seconds of my sum of best or something like that. This run was absurd. It got really, really good RNG. I executed incredibly well almost everywhere in the entire run. There's a couple minor mistakes, but I mean, you're not going to have a run where you make absolutely no mistakes in a 30-minute run. It's just, especially in a game like this. But just the one glaring error on the spiral staircase haunts me, and that's why eventually I will push this game to sub 2930. Whenever I get that, I'll be done running this. Unless some absurd new strats are found. I tested a lot of stuff with a Mega EverDrive, loading save states, trying some really over-the-top strategies that try to mimic the Taz almost directly. I don't think I can push this any further than where this route is now. You never say never, because that's how speedruns work. Sometimes new stuff is found, sometimes a new strategy is found. But if once I crack that sub 2930, I think I will be done running Morris. At least I hope, but we'll see. I've been saying stuff like that for like, I don't know, 5 years. I've been running this game for 6 or 7. It's been 7 now? Man, I don't remember. It might be 7 now. Who knows? It's hard to keep track of. I've been running this game a long time. But, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the run. The route is not strikingly different from the sub 30 route. There's just a whole ton of tiny optimizations that add up in a whole lot of ways. And it ups the difficulty of this run by a lot. And this run is already absurdly difficult. So many runs in Stage 1 alone because of the randomness. Stage 2 now has a true gatekeeper boss, which is literally the worst thing I could have ever done to myself. And then Stage 3, I have to get the Harpies to play nice. So I don't really have a run that's truly in my hands until I get most of the way through Stage 3. Because I like making life difficult on myself. But, I still love running this game. It's become my favorite Castlevania. It's got all the quirks of a classic Castlevania, but it really is its own game. You know, it's not like an inferior Genesis version of another game. It really has its own style. And even in the speedrun, like I said, it plays classic Castlevania speedrun tactics. You gotta utilize sub-weapon ammo, you gotta utilize your resources and make optimized platforming decisions and stuff, but the fact that you can't damage boost your way through the game and gain time, other than in Stage 4, makes this a much more interesting route in its own way. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the run. Hopefully the commentary helped explain a few things for you. And, yeah, I'll be going back to this in the future, so if you enjoy Bloodlines, be sure to check out my stream sometime and see me smashing my head against the brick wall attempting to get this down to a 2930. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and till next time.